So I was taught to always use matches, particularly when working with sacred smoke, herbs, incense, any of that stuff. Being in communion with the elements feels different when you have a match in your hand as opposed to when you're using a lighter. We are elemental beings, and so holding steadfast and true to elemental representations matters. It feels different in our body. It feels different in our body. I was also taught that everything is prayer and everything is ceremony. And as we begin to shift into wintertime, as we begin to pull in, that's where we remember these things. The quietness of the internal narrative, the solitude, the darkness, right? At the summer solstice, that was the peak of light. And from summer solstice to winter solstice, we were getting darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. So winter solstice is this next Sabbath that we are celebrating. And winter solstice is about the return of light, the return of warmth. Winter solstice is the longest night of the year. And what happens at nighttime? Well, at nighttime we go in, right? At nighttime we become quiet, particularly in the northern hemisphere, obviously, when it's the winter solstice, which is what we're heading into right now. Things are getting colder, even if you live in warmer temperature or more temperate areas, it still gets colder. I finally just had to turn my heat on in my home just a couple days ago. And I feel the, desire to put socks on, and we have to wear hoodies and just sort of like wrap ourselves up a little bit, right? And we wrap ourselves up the same way you wrap a baby up, the same way you protect them, the same way you enclose them in the love of your arms. The darkness is the womb. And so in that way, all this pulling in that has gone on since summer solstice, all this slowing down and cold weather and retreating that has gone on is representative of the ways that we feel when we are going through a process of rebirth, right? When a brand new baby is born, everything is quiet and it's slow, and we sleep a lot, and we just cuddle a lot, and we just marvel at that little sweet thing a lot. It is this same type of energy that we're experiencing right now with winter solstice and with the Sabbath. Going through the birth canal, there's a squeeze. Hey, little fly. There's a pressure. Birth is painful and birth is like kind of traumatic a little bit, right? So when we find ourselves being reborn in a lot of ways, it doesn't always feel so good. And so oftentimes we'll question it, or we'll resist, or we'll hesitate. And, that was something that I learned about birthing, is that pain is just our body's way of telling us to do something different, right? I'm like the political commentary with the fly that was flying around, or the presidential debates or whatever it was. Pain is just our body's way of telling us to do something different. So we don't resist. We don't push it away or stop it. We pause, we breathe, and we change our position. We try a new approach. But the bottom line is that baby needs to get out. That project needs to be delivered. That new sense of self needs to see the light of day. And that's what winter solstice is here to remind us of. Winter solstice is here to welcome back in that warmth. In the Northern Hemisphere, winter solstice is anywhere from like the 20th to the 23rd. It kind of depends on where you live in the country, where you live in the Northern Hemisphere, the position of the sun, all of those things that will give you that range. But the bottom line is that it is the longest night of the year. And then after that, we start to tip the scales towards more light. So ask yourself, what is it that you've been working through lately? What is it that you have felt the need to retreat from and pull back from? What is it that's been causing you pain? Because whatever it is that's causing you pain is asking for you to change your position, change your perspective, change your approach. Whatever you're doing, for some reason, it's not working. And when you look at something from a different perspective, you shed new light on it. You have a new vision, a new gaze. You shed new light on it. You welcome in a new light, which is what we do on the winter solstice. From a medicine wheel perspective, the winter solstice marks our shift from the west direction and the water element to the north direction and the earth element. And when you think about earth, people use the term grounding all the time, right? Like going outside, walking around barefoot. When you know people, friends that are, really grounded, you're like, oh, they're so down to earth because they're so welcoming, because they're so open, because they kind of help bring you back down to earth, right? So the earth element is very much that. It's about safety. It's about security. And when we talk about the womb, like being wrapped up and encapsulated again, that was when we were the most safe. That was when we just were held. That was when we had all our needs kind of provided for us, ideally speaking, of course. I know not everyone's birth experience and story is that, but that is the initial intention. The other teaching around a baby growing in utero and how it represents the earth element and the north direction in wintertime is because this direction and this space that we are in for the next 3 months until the spring equinox, it's about our own inherent intelligence, our inner guidance system, the wisdom that just speaks through us. Sometimes we don't listen to it. Oftentimes we don't listen to it. But it's that innate knowing, that quiet whisper. When a baby is growing in utero, there is no one in there checking shit off a list. There's no one in there being like, yo, you need to start working on those fingernails, please. Like, chop, chop, let's make it happen. I'm sorry. We need to have some better hair growth. Come on now, what's going on? None of that is happening. The baby is just naturally growing and evolving in perfect sequence, in perfect order. No one is in charge of that. Our inherent intelligence, our inner wisdom is the same. We have this quiet voice that constantly calls out to us and lets us know where to go and what to do. And so that's why I say to you, what is it that's been causing you pain? You got to do it differently, because that pain is your body's intuitive wisdom saying, hey, please pay attention to me. Please focus, please listen. And in the north direction, we get to ground into that. We get to move through the birth canal. We get to see the light of day, the light of a new day, because we're looking at things from a different perspective. And then we get to ground in to trusting that inner knowing. And that's what's so magical about those friends that are so grounding and so down to earth, is they reflect that strength back to us. They reflect, they're like, hey, you're good. Everything's okay. You're going to be okay. I have faith in you. I trust in you. I believe in you. The earth element is about nourishment, and it's about security. So a lot of us are going through some really tough lessons around what it is that actually makes us feel secure, what it is that actually brings us peace, what it is that actually is our truth, right? So many of us run around in these checking off to-do list items, trying to keep other people happy, keep up appearances, prove something to someone. We're all running around doing these things, and we've lost touch with what it is that actually is our heart song. We've lost touch with what it is that actually is our intuitive wisdom. The security that we are all looking for through these external tangible things really only comes from a belief and a trust in self. So what would you like to welcome in with this fresh light, with this dawn of a new day? When we shift into the north direction, when we start to experience the frequency of the earth element, the medicine that is that grounding nature, what is it that you would like to unearth from here, from the depths of your soul, and bring forward, to be given that light? Everything needs light to grow. Maybe not everything. Elements of light. Photosynthesis happens even under the depths of the ocean. Everything needs our attention to grow. So what is it that's calling for your attention right now? If your body is asking you to slow down and retreat, please listen. It's not wrong. If there is a truth bubbling up from your throat, please speak to it. It's not wrong. In wintertime, we go slow. In wintertime, we have patience. So there's a good reminder here with this earth element energy that we have time. Sometimes things take time. Earth is more dense. The frequency of earth doesn't move as fast as like the springtime and the air element. So allow things to process all the way through. Allow your body to heal and process all the way through whatever it is that's going on. That's the other thing about birth, right? Like brand new babies, the reason why they sleep so much is because they are growing. They are growing. So right now in the winter time, we do want to be inside. It gets darker because our bodies are like, oh yes, we need to go in. The organism responds to the amount of light and dark in its ecosystem, and that's the circadian rhythm. So it's not a mistake, it's not an accident that the shorter the amount of light, the shorter the days are, the more that our body wants to rest, because intuitively, as extensions of our planet, we respond to our environment. So let yourself rest, let yourself go slow. Let yourself process all the way through your emotions, feel your feelings, trust your intuition. The north direction is the place of our ancestors, those that have come before us, those that will come after. It's about our lineage. And it's the place from a feminine perspective, like the women's medicine wheel. It's the element of crone, of the wise woman. So your elders, they're a lot of good resource, those elders of ours, your parents, your grandparents, maybe not even in your actual blood lineage, but maybe someone else's grandparents. Those wise folks, those wise men and women, look to them. What kind of teachings do they have to offer you? What do they know? What is it that I've heard before? Old eyes see further than young eyes, something to that effect. They have wisdom, they have experience. So whether they are still living and you can connect and commune with them and sit at their feet and listen to their wisdom, listen to their stories, or whether they have transitioned and you need to sit in meditation and prayer and listen to their wisdom, either way, open yourself up to the subtle whisper that is all around you. That is the teaching of the north direction. That is the wisdom of the north direction. Let yourself be quiet and be made new. I know it can be scary sometimes when we don't know where we're going. There's this beautiful story about two twins in their mother's womb, and they have two very different perspectives. And one baby, as it's growing, is like, everything's fine here. No, it's great, it's great, it's great. And the other one's like, I don't know. I hear mother's voice out there. I want to go see what it is. And the other one's like, no. Like, why would we want to do that? What if we die out there? What if something bad happens, right? And they just keep having this discourse back and forth, and really it's a representation of our own inner discourse. our own inner dialogue of like that quiet whisper that's like, hey, try this. I know it's scary, but try it. It might be worth it. It might be better. And then the part of us that wants to stay protected is like, no, 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 I'm good. This has worked for so far. So for so long, I'm going to stay right here. But if it's causing pain, if it's not coming through a clean, coherent state, then maybe you need to rewrite your definition of what's working. Maybe you need to rewrite your belief around what you're worthy of or capable of. Maybe you need to open yourself up to techniques, methodologies, perspectives, again, that are very different than yours. The bottom line, listen to that whisper. Pay attention to that inner guidance system. And know that the best way to cultivate that is through going in. Meditation, prayer, whatever that looks like or feels like to you. Communing with the earth element, hikes, walk a labyrinth. Just stand out there in the dirt or in the grass. Focus on remembering how to get yourself home. I love you.